Hey everyone, and good morning. The topic for today is how to use power of words. Of course, most of you are radical students and practitioners, and there's nothing uh, outstanding because you've always been aware of your power of words. However, there are a few points that I want to highlight and reinforce today because over a period of time, we lose a sense, even after learning through various courses and curriculum. Your words are like seeds, and they have a potential to germinate. A lot of people wonder, they know the power of manifestation. They have heard about the book Secret. They watched the movie. There was a great wave where there was suddenly an awareness of the power of words. And yet, a lot of people felt disillusioned because not everything they wanted to manifest, they could manifest, and not every word were powerful enough according to them. So, what went wrong? So, as I understand, every word has potential to germinate and take shape. Every word. They're like potent seeds. However, a farmer would know how to make the best out of the seeds. And the seeding process or the thought seeding process is very similar to a farming or a planting process. How do you know that? In what way is this similar? So imagine you have a handful of seeds, throw them on the concrete road. Do you expect them to germinate? Obviously not. They may or may not germinate unless the concrete road is cracked somewhere. So the first principle is, if the thoughts are seeds and your mind is that for land, it needs to be fertile enough. It needs to be prepared for it. So any farmer, before seeding, will prepare the soil. They will never push the seeds randomly in the soil. They prepare the soil much in advance. They soften the soil and they do a little bit of upheaval, like they turn around the soil to make it porous. They also enrich the soil with fertilizers and add little water to it. So your mind is like that soil, which needs to be free from the concretization. Over a period of time, we have created a wall of beliefs and conditions, and they are so rigid and they're so hard that even if the new thought comes, it cannot penetrate the whole filter of hard soil. Just a second. And when it cannot penetrate the whole filter of hard soil, it will not be able to reach your subconscious mind and your archive mind to give you the best results. They remain at the surface level. So that hard soil or that concrete is your filter mind, which is full of rigid beliefs, rigid conditions, and rigid programs. You need to recognize them. You need to let some of them get dissolved. Some of them get annihilated or removed, or some of them get modified. That's an art. That is the main work that you need to do before you get receptive to new seed thoughts, because those seed thoughts can bring about a huge difference and they have a potential to manifest. So, how do you do that? What are your beliefs? Some of the beliefs are very, very concrete, like life is difficult, life is a problem. Only when there is a struggle, you can become more and more effective in life. So you invite struggle, you invite delay, Nothing happens easily and effortlessly. There are no free lunches, stuff like that. We've made it so difficult for ourselves by borrowing the beliefs, inheriting the beliefs, and reinforcing our beliefs. Not all of them are true, however. Okay, these are simply beliefs and not the truths. So recognize them as your beliefs and not the truth, and rise beyond these beliefs or challenge these beliefs, dissolve these beliefs. Being radical students, you already know how to do it. This is just a reminder that make sure if your thoughts are not really manifesting easily, or if you haven't been able to turn around your life very easily, probably there are some restrictive beliefs which you need to work around and work towards. Next is reduction in the number of thoughts. Okay, so your seeds are like your thoughts, and thoughts are like your seeds. If you add too many seeds on the soil, and if all of them try to germinate, there's going to be a chaos. Okay. To avoid that, have fewer seeds planted so that you get maximum benefit from the resources. When a seed is germinated, they need water, they need nutrition, and they need sunlight. And too many plantations, and if it is a closely planted field, they will not get adequate sunlight, adequate nutrition, and adequate water. And they may die a natural death, or they may not germinate at all. Same thing holds true for your thoughts. Your thoughts are very powerful, and yet they need resources. The resources is that mind, the nurturance from your mind. Okay. And if there are too many thoughts, they will get divided nurturance, divided nutrition, divided energy. So you need minimum number of thoughts. And the lesser the number of thoughts, the more powerful they are. That's why I always warn meditators. When you meditate, your mind has much more powers to manifest all that you want. You have to be careful what you think, because when you meditate, you have lesser number of thoughts and more power, and you'll end up manifesting all that you think. You have to be careful. If you think something terrible, even that can manifest. All your beliefs tend to get exaggerated. All your conditions tend to become more powerful. So be careful. Address your beliefs, your tendency to think adversely, and all your conditions, so that you have minimum thoughts and minimum resistance to enrich and empower every positive thought that you have. And that's how you will build it up for yourself. Third is the weed factors. There's nothing like positive or negative. There's nothing like powerful seeds and the weeds, because nature does not discriminate. The nature will enrich all that you ever, want, or all that is. So I don't think the soil discriminates that I will not give nutrition to weeds and only to seeds. However, if you're particular about a particular set of seeds, you need to make sure that the weeds are planted in such a way. So if there are thorny plants, you selectively replant them at the periphery, so that you have only preferred seeds. Even the weeds have the role to play. They're not negative as such, but they have a positioning. Position the weeds in correct way so that the planted seeds get correct nutrition. Okay. Having done that, you need to make sure that you nurture till the time there is enough of resources available, natural resources available to take care of them. And that nurturing is like repeated reinforcement of your thoughts, ideas, and visions. And that's how, over a period of time, you can create a beautiful garden for yourself. Plan your garden, be selective about your plants and seeds, prepare yourself to have them with you, prepare your mind for that, and plant all those thoughts in a systematic, guided way, and watch them grow to enjoy the beautiful life like a garden. You all deserve it. And you all have a potential and capability to do that. Make sure you select the right seeds which are just appropriate for you, because don't expect coconut to grow in Himalayas and rhododendron to grow in a sandy soil. For each one, there is an appropriate seed. So select the right seed thoughts, prepare your mind, plant them systematically, and nurture them appropriately. And make sure you position weeds in an appropriate way so that your seed thoughts get the best. I know it sounds a little metaphoric. However, you will get the clue and make the best out of it. So, as usual, I'm open to questions if there is something that you haven't yet got it correctly. And YouTube viewers, feel free to put your questions in the comment section. I'll have a look and answer them later. Yeah, anyone? Any question?
Aatmn, you said about meditation, like when we are meditating. So, lots of time in the beginning when we sit down to meditate. Uh, so I believe those thoughts get manifested, right?
Your voice is not audible. The line is getting um, interrupted. Can you just type it? I will read that. Okay.
Sure.
Anyone? Any other question? Meanwhile, so I'm not sure what she asked right now, but that's okay. No worries. What I want you to know is when you meditate, your mind raises its frequency, it becomes more and more powerful. And at the same time, your number of thoughts reduce. So when you meditate, you energize every thought. Okay. So if you have thoughts which are favorable, even they will get energized. And if you have thoughts which are unfavorable, even they will get energized. So when you start meditating, you need to be more careful about your thoughts, more vigilant, and more aware of your thoughts. So she's saying the same thing. There are many thoughts when we start meditation. I hope they all don't manifest. No, they do manifest. Not all, but many of them do manifest. This is my personal experience. So when I started learning meditation, I missed my first class where it was explained that you have to be careful about your thoughts. And that was about the same time I had given up my medical practice, and my thoughts were on controlling the expenses and save money, because I could see the lack setting in, at the lack mindset setting in for the first time at that time. And the more I thought about lack, the more I manifested in a week's time, unusual, unprecedented expenses. And I was alarmed. I lost my mobile phone, and a lot of things happened within a week. And I said, this cannot happen. Why? I mean, the meditation can't take me there. And then I caught up with the first week's learning. That's when I heard that, when you're meditating, you need to be careful about what you think, because even they manifest. At that time, I did not know the mechanism and how and why. But anyway, I started being vigilant about my thoughts, and things started improving later. I see that happening with a lot of people when they start meditating. So my recommendation, and that's how I start. I encourage people to meditate through healing. So when you're healing, you are anyway taking care of your adverse beliefs, thoughts, and emotions. So you and heal yourself and heal your way to meditation and meditate as you heal. And when you do that simultaneously, and especially radical way, you have minimum or no adverse thought. You remain aligned and meditate. So you put in a lot of positive thoughts, right? And over and above and in spite of, be clear, because as you start meditating, number of thoughts reduce anyway. So be careful and know your powers, and know your powers of manifestation after meditation, and use it appropriately and more judiciously. That's the message for the day. Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much for joining. Next talk will be on Monday. Weekend, I will take off. I'm right now in Bangalore, winding up the whole sessions over here. Today we have Soul Meta Play. We've addressed 4 schools, lots of students, a lot of teachers, and it's been amazingly enriching moments. Yesterday, me, Uma, Mujib, Mamta, and Archana, 4 of us, were scattered in different parts of uh, the Bangalore city, and I think Uma, Mujib, and Archana addressed the army school children, 10th and 12th standard. They had 6 batches there, and me and Mamta, we addressed 2 schools teacher, the kindergarten and playgroup teachers, and it was amazing. It's a very, very fulfilling experience. Today, Soul Meta Play, and tomorrow we will have part 1 of Awakening with Aatmn in Bangalore. Feel free to join us and keep in touch. Thank you.